So I've been playing Elden Ring and I have a lot to say about it. First of all, the game is awesome. The best thing about it for me is the open world and just what this thing does differently from their previous games, especially coming from somebody who I'm not like a diehard From Software fan. And before I jump in, welcome to these types of videos where I kind of just take an angle. I try and talk about one of my favorite things about a new game. I do the more technical analysis, the information, the critical stuff on the game ranks before you buy video, which is now out. Shout out to all of us for getting that done. But here, just wanted to riff on it, some additional thoughts, and just why I think this might be one of the best games of the year. And that's crazy for me to say because I was going into this like, all right, another From Software game, time to get my ass beat. It's ultimately going to be good, but whatever. I didn't expect a complete game changer. And I think the open world element that they added here just knocks it out of the park. It's not a cynical open world. It's not open world for the sake of open world. It's almost kind of like an onboarding trick, a kind of gateway drug to really get introduced to what makes these games so special and so addictive, like times 1,000. You've probably seen by now a lot of reviews and reviews in progress, and I guess consider this one because the game is absolutely massive. You've probably seen a lot of mentions of this being the most approachable From Software game, and I would say in some ways it is, but in some ways it isn't, because at the end of the day, it still boils down to being a From Software Dark Souls style game. So it's still going to crush you. You're still going to hit brick walls. There's still some obscure things that are hard to figure out here and there, and you're going to get stuck. But what the game does is gives you a lot more freedom and a lot more tools to grow and learn. Like, so you can hit a wall and then just go screw off in the open world for no joke, hours and hours. You might find yourself completely struggling with the first or second like main boss, and then you can just go off and have so much more video game fun in the open world, and it doesn't feel like filler content. All of it is organically discovered, kind of like in an old school way. The game's map is absolutely massive, and I know I'm the one who always I'm sick of these games that just have massive open worlds with filler content that just isn't really fulfilling. This is all like just kind of organically discovered, but also old school in the sense that like there's not a lot of map markers at all. You can place your own markers and your own little things. You can even write things down. There's no quest tracking because these games don't really have traditional quests, but there are still tasks that you are often given by side characters or a random NPC you find in the woods. But the way it all flows just like keeps you going and keeps you discovering, because there is some really hidden shit here. And it's incredible. Like there are some really awesome, compelling, challenging dungeons that you might not ever find, or it might take you hours to find, and it was right under your nose. And you're doing all this because the open world isn't as oppressive because you can run past enemies. This has always kind of been a thing for some of these games. But, with your mount, with your cool horse, he's like a goat horse. I don't really know what his deal is, but his name is Torrent, and that's cool. But you're able to really get around. You really, embrace the verticality and just like the twisty turniness of this giant map. And you're able to really kind of choose where you want to have some challenge. It also makes grinding or farming for souls that much better because there's so much more to do now. And the game kind of like in the open world gives you the tools to succeed. It encourages you to explore in interesting ways. You're always finding, some free souls on the ground. You take significantly less fall damage in this game compared to other Souls games. You also, in the overworld, you might encounter like a band of low-level enemies and you kill them, and then you actually get your Estus flask recharged. So the game doesn't baby you or hold your hand, but it gives you lots of like kind of pushes on the back, pats on the back, like go explore. Hey, go figure that out. Go see what's over there. And it's good because you're going to need that stuff. You're going to need to find a new weapon. You're going to need to find some secret key. You're going to need to find some obscure thing to help you out further on. You're going to need to fight a red phantom and get a cool new weapon that's going to give you an edge. And again, I was just shocked how much time I spent exploring the open world. This sense of accomplishment you can get just from going through the open world and finding all the bonfires, or here they're called Sites of Grace, it is really almost like its own fun game in and of itself. You can go hours without fighting a boss, but just journeying through and surviving and really filling out the map and kind of making your way through it is so satisfying. Not to mention the map itself is just a giant Dark Souls game. So to quote Gene Park, from the Washington Post, I don't want to take his words out. He describes it, and I totally agree. It's not Dark Souls placed in an open world. It's just a big ass Dark Souls. It's basically Dark Souls 4 and it's huge. That's to be reductive about it. That's absolutely what this game is. And I think people are going to be happy with that. And I think the people who are really hardcore into these games, where I'm not, I play them, I understand them, I appreciate them, especially like it really clicked with me with Dark Souls 3. But I think the people that are really hardcore are still going to have all the nuances they're looking for, but also the challenge. The main areas, the legacy dungeons, the bosses are no slouches, especially right from the start. Some of the earlier games, some other From games have much easier bosses at the start than this, at least for me personally. Difficulty is obviously very subjective. People are going to feel totally differently, but whoo boy, whoo man. But you know what? Just to like take it personal again, what I really like here is that like in previous From Software games, that struggle, that challenge, you always want to push through, right? Because you want to see what's next. They're so good at building these worlds. Their art direction, their design, everything is so on point. From the labyrinthine designs to the incredible monster and creature and enemy type designs. They really know horror. They clearly love horror. They're doing crazy, spooky shit. You always want to push forward to see that. But, in the previous games, sometimes you couldn't, or you'd hit a wall and then you couldn't get to see the next stuff until you really pushed through. Now you can just always go out and find some crazy stuff. And it's great because there are so many sights to behold. I think From Software just has their environment design, their visual design, their stuff like that really down pat. This game graphically isn't the most impressive thing, but from a visual design standpoint, from a color palette to the skyboxes, to the beautiful vistas, to some of the lighting, like it does really still look cool. The world density and the variety is also gorgeous too. At first, like I kind of was like, oh, is this just going to be like wide open and not hyper detailed like say Dark Souls 3's areas were? The further you get in, the more you just come across weird caves, spooky graveyards, all kinds of weird mystical shit, wild, beautiful forests filled with bears and killer wolves and zombies at every turn. There's so much here, and all of it is like I've been loving the hell out of every inch of it. And I think with how massive it is, I think like the review process kind of hurts this. I really think this is a game that needs to be taken slow and really savored. I think like how honestly, some people will play the giant new Assassin's Creed like Valhalla or something and play it over the course of 5 months and slowly kind of tick things off. I think this is like the Dark Souls, the From Software version of that. And it totally works, even more than I was expecting it. There is some downright incredible shit here, and some of it is missable. Some of it is stuff you would never find. And it's just so much fun to just slowly chill out and cruise around on your horse and discover new stuff, and then make a wrong turn and get killed by a dragon in one hit. But I really think the winning thing is like, the Dark Souls thing, and then the open world thing, and the challenge, and then the freedom of exploration and the encouragement of that, I think is like a perfect storm to just make it such an addictive recipe. More addictive than any of these games before by a long shot. And I think that's why you're going to see this game come up so much in conversation over the next couple of months, because it is, I think, that damn good. I wasn't prepared, and I think a lot of people still aren't prepared for just how freaking massive it is. And to answer the question, I have been getting it a lot, like, oh, is this the one? I've never played one of these games. Is this the one I should jump into? I think I can say yes. I think it still ultimately has the same level of challenge, but I think that little bit of freedom can help teach you and, get you there. I also found some of the storytelling and some of the world building to be like a little bit more directly engaging right from the get-go. I had a better grasp of what was going on. There's a bit more characters. I found the lore really interesting. So there's that too on the side. But from the gameplay perspective, I think this is a good first one to start with. That freedom really helps onboard things. Just don't read reviews or watch videos and go in thinking, oh, this is going to be the easy one. I'm going to play the easy one because it's my first one. I don't really think that's the case, but I think more than ever, there's more room to grow and learn and embrace this whole thing. And again, it's the early days of like even the community and stuff. So the surface hasn't really even totally been scratched yet in terms of like people finding weird shit, people doing weird stuff with the multiplayer. I can't wait to see how the community is going to take to this one, especially kind of having to play it in this isolated bubble over the last week or so. There is some wild shit in this game. And yeah, I'm addicted. like hopelessly. It's really hard to condense every element of this game into this, especially to keep it kind of spoiler free, because the sense of discovery is really the whole thing. That's why some of these games are fun, especially to jump in with the community and everything. So go experience that, go forth. I think it's really good that it's February and we've already had so many strong game releases for 2022. And I think right now Elden Ring is like the peak of that, the pinnacle of that. It's a good time to play some damn video games. But I gotta get back to work. There's more games, more reviews, more things to do. So let's talk about this. I want to know what you're thinking. Maybe if you played the technical test or something like that, let me know what you're thinking. If you're watching this video after release, I definitely want to know where you're at. What kind of roadblocks have you hit? Where have you had success? I think there's an interesting conversation. I'm going to go take a damn nap now. That's just me though. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you for listening to me ramble about a new game. I really appreciate it. Clicking the like button is all you got to do. It helps me out. I'm just talking about what I love here. So if you get that, also maybe subscribe if you're new. But I'm Jake Baldino. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me.